All right, this is for Nikolay Taranenko. I'm sorry if I murdered that. All right, the first thing that I would say right off the bat is that you want to make sure that you have a good silhouette going on. Right now, the anatomy is an issue, but the silhouette I think is a bigger issue. Right now, what you have is you have this just big block of black, and it's not reading very well. It doesn't have that idea of what you're supposed to be having in there. So we also want to look at um, you also want to look at the other aspect of this as well, as you have some anatomy issues going on. First of all, if I just draw the base pose, here's your neck. You got your shoulders here. You want to have kind of this tilt, and right now it reads to me as female. So you want to have this leg coming over here, and then the hips coming like so, like this, and then this pulling out like this. So, and then if you've got this style of pose, um, you want to have a little bit more. How do I want to put this? You want to have a little bit more going on. So the first thing that I would do as an artist, I would say right off the bat is let's take care of this arm here. By taking care of this arm here, I'm going to just grab this, reselect, select and transform it, and I'm going to move said arm a little bit outward, so that way you've got you've got a little bit more going on. All right, and so let's break this down into a little bit more of what you're trying to accomplish here. All right, so do you see how by separating that, just by separating that arm, what's happening is it's pushing out that feeling of separation, and it's making my silhouette appear a little bit more interesting. And then what we can do is, and this is different things that I would do. When you're looking at reference for your arm and shoulder feel kind of awkward here. So what I would do is pull in, and I would almost tell you to make her hand bigger. And let's oops, let's try this again. Let's make that a little bit bigger, and by doing so, that adds in much more definition to the arm. And then I would actually kind of push the arm out. So by pushing the arm out, you would have more. Let me figure out how to do this real quick with what you have. Okay, so let's try this again. So I'm going to take this arm, and we're just going to cut that on a new layer. And then I'm going to take this brush here, and let's kind of flatten out this aspect here and get in more of the hips. And do you see how by doing that, that points out her elbow a little bit more? And we can actually merge that layer. I think that's fine. But that pushes out her elbow a little bit more and gives you more definition of the femininity of the character. And then what I would do is I would take here where you have like your different aspects of light and dark, and I would actually make this a little bit more transparent. Let's go back and add in. I just want to do a real quick figure. And we would add this in a little bit bigger too. hip turn, so we want to add a little bit more hip here, knee up here, leg, and then something like that. So that's my goal, is to get more of that hip in there. So the first thing that I would do too is I'm going to just transform the hand a little bit bigger, and then let's add in more cut to the knee. And do you see how by doing that, and then let's add in that aspect there. Oops. And let's twist this like so. So do you see how I'm getting much more of that standard going on? And we can even push some of that in here. And then what I would do is you've got this sense of wind going on, but it's definitely not enough to kind of give me that feeling of what's going on. Let's take and let's brush. Let's brush this. And do you see how by doing that, just that brush real quick, adds in much more definition? And then by adding in your additional aspects here, your scene of your character here. Let's add in the brush strokes like that. And do you see how by adding in that type of character, and now we can cover that up, and that gives us our foot, but now we've got a much greater sense of, you know, information going on. You've got your idea that now, versus before you have this big blob, and now I'm separating that blob and making it look a little bit more interesting. I'm getting some of the definition of the legs in there. I'm getting you know, a little bit more of that hip curve in there. I would even say a little bit more hip curve. So let's add in oops, let's add in kind of this almost anorexic style kind of hip curve in there. And I think that's the thing that you're looking for. The other aspect I would say is that you want to, you've got everything very dark grays, and that's okay, but to kind of bring out the face a little bit more and head, what I would tell you to do is, let's go in with the dodge tool, hardness smooth, and let's do the highlights, and just, oops, don't want to destroy the original. So let's add out some of those mid-tones. And so you can see by bringing this just out a little bit, not like it doesn't have to be much, but just adding in that brighter feature around the head really pulls the head out now, and I have more of a focal area going on. So you go from this to something like that, and the anatomy works well. You know, I could probably play with this arm up here yet, but overall, it's not so. It's much more free flowing. I could even take these rags right here and bring something like this going on up there, and it's just kind of like that. And now it gives me a much more greater sense of what's going on in the scene, from a silhouette standpoint to a graphical standpoint as well. It just reads better. It gives me a little bit more femininity on the particular character, and that's kind of what you're, I think, looking for in this particular piece, is just to bring together a little bit more readability, versus here you've got kind of that blob feeling and nothing's really going. The other thing I would tell you to do is work on just drawing wrinkles. Um, the what you've got going on here is, it's hard to read, but that it's not even that. It's like in this area here, you have all the wrinkles going one way, and in all reality, the wrinkles would actually kind of, and I'm just gonna pop this in here real quick. The wrinkles would actually kind of feather out from your points. Um, Especially if there's wind going on, there'd be wrinkles in here because of the hip crunch. You'd get more wrinkles going on in here. You'd get wrinkles kind of twisting around like this. You'd get wrinkles kind of coming like that. So that would help you push your flow as well, and make a little bit more dynamic character going on. So that, I hope that helps. All right. And if you liked what you saw, subscribe.